Alright guys, welcome to Resto Designs, and we're going to be back on Project Topless today, this 1981 Cabrio GLI. Now, by the end of this video, we're going to hopefully get this running. We're going to sort out a few issues that it's got, that's on the list of things to do that he wants me to do, the customer wants me to do with this. And by the end of this video, we're going to see if it runs with the right wiring as it's been done, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't catch fire. But before all that happens, let's have a word from our sponsor. So here's the items. Yes, got a GTD box, another one back in stock. Now, these are really quite hard to come by. I've sold absolute loads of these now, and yeah, it's back in stock. Now, this one is, as you can see, the condition's okay in it. It's got a few scuffs here and there. On the underside, it does have this cut where it looks like the pulley's actually rubbed into it at some point here, as well as like a little hole here where it's been, I think that's where one of the support legs go. Unfortunately, it's broken there. So you can maybe repair that. But, you know, as you guys have seen, I've sold these at literally half the price that they are sold for on eBay. On eBay, there's people selling these for over £200 or around the £200 mark. This goes up for £95. For half the price, you have to repair that. It's not a bad deal, guys. And also it's on the underside. It's not a really big issue. Now that we're on to actually air boxes, I do actually have something here a little bit different, guys. Potentially one of my first 3D printed lines, which is going to be this air scoop. Now, as you can see with the original GTD airbox, the hole is very, very small compared to that. Look at that. You know, this is, you know, quite small. The GTD ones have a quite small one. The 60 valve, I think, is a few mil bigger, and the biggest one, I think, is a G60 one with these air boxes. Now, the good thing about this scoop here, all these bottom half of the boxes are all the same. So it doesn't matter if you've got an 8 valve GTI, a 16 valve GTI, a G60, or one of these GTD boxes. The bottom half of the box, they're all exactly the same. It's only the top halves that change. So you can actually fit, instead of, you know, yes, you can run it like that, but you get a lot of buffering. And with this, you're just going to basically, you know, you're going to be scooping up a whole load more air, bigger surface area with a smoother transition going into the airbox. As well as like that, it just looks a bit unfinished, and even just for aesthetically, it's going to look a lot better, especially once this is all in black. This is just a prototype. This is in PLA. It's not going to, you know, it's going to warp with the heat of the engine bay. I'm actually getting this stuff made. I'm going to be printing this in a much more resistant material. But yeah, that's to come in the future. But enough of that. Let's get on with what's actually also going on the site today. And this is a 60 valve heat shield for the Mark II Golfs. These are quite hard to come by, especially in this condition, and especially this particular one. This particular one is actually slightly different. It's got like a little shape here, and it's slightly different, the contours on some of it. And the reason for that is this is from a 94 Corrado 9A 16 valve. So, you know, it will fit on your Mark IIs, will obviously fit on your Corrados. It's got the very rare clips that actually hold it onto the brake lines, as you guys can see, as well as these little bits here are in amazing condition as well. So it's complete in this kind of condition. So be quick, guys, because these actually do sell. They're not on the website for very long. Electric looms. Now, I do like a conversion loom from the Polos and the Seat 6Ks. I kind of convert the looms to work in a Mark II Golf, because they got the same switches and stuff. They just need to modify a little bit here and there of the wiring. But this is actually an original Mark II electric window loom, and it's uncut. Normally, you know, these Mark II looms will have cuts here where they fit alarms in it, or someone's removed the door, or they've cut something. Not a single cut, not a single solder in this loom. And that's also why I haven't, normally with these looms, I do like to tidy them up and put tester tape on them so they look a lot smarter. But I've left this in its original condition so you guys can see that it is in really good condition. You know, it's literally just plug and play. You put that on your fuse box. Power, earth. And also I've left the plug in here so you can see, you can depin it and see where it takes the key 12 from. And that's it, guys. So that's going to go up on the website. This will be a little bit more expensive because it isn't a conversion one. It's an original one. and it's an uncut original one. So this will be going up for around the £62 more or less mark on the website, guys. But enough of that, let's get back in today's video. All right, so back on the car. Thanks for the sponsors, restodesigns.com. Definitely check out the webpage, guys. There's loads of bits on there. All right, so moving back onto Project Topless now. I'm going to take the easy wins first. So I think the first things I'm going to do is, I notice this timing box cover isn't on properly. The seat needs to be trimmed down there at the bottom. I've got the water pump pulley. I actually found the right nuts for it, or bolts you want to call it, sorry, to put that on. I've already put on the top radiator hose. So I'm going to attack kind of the easy bits first. So we're going to get kind of the water side of things done. I see it needs, this Jubilee clip needs to be tightened. I need to supply one for there, as well as I want to get the rest of them on as well. Also, I've sourced an oil cooler for this as well, with a new seal. So I'm going to carefully take off the oil filter, as well as I'm going to replace all this pipe. So like I said, I'm going to do the easy bits first, cover, water pump pulley, and do these coolant pipes and get all the coolants done. Apart from the expansion bottle, I'm waiting for that on order. That should be here hopefully by the end of the day. So here's the cover. What I use is one of this, hopefully it'll focus in. It's a kind of a cutting blade, a carbide bit, but it's actually for plastics and aluminium, which is very different to the Titan. So it really kind of cuts plastic quite nicely and smooth and like butter. So I'm just going to trim off where I can see a few marks where it was hitting, which I think is here. So I'm going to kind of make that kind of shape there, like a V shape here, and I think it's hitting the back here. So I'm going to try and cut off as least amount as possible. So after a little bit of trimming, I was almost able to get it on, and then I realised, look at the size of that Jubilee clip, it's not even tight. You know, guys, don't, especially with fuel pipes and stuff, don't mess around with Jubilee clips, get the right size. This is obviously way too big, and what it is when you use a bigger clip on a smaller one, it just kind of triangulates, it doesn't give it the proper grip. So yeah, definitely gonna have to change this this one first, because it's actually getting in the way of the cover. So I guess it's a good thing that I noticed that. And also the pipe that was on there was actually an 8mm pipe, not a 6mm pipe. So that wasn't right either. And I got a feeling by looking at the thickness of this one, that's going to be an 8mm one as well. And a bugbear of mine is these are metal pipes, and they shouldn't be loose like this, because with the vibration they will actually crack and fracture. So the cover's on, as you can see, cut perfectly down there. And also simplified this because it had like some other bits coming off, I think for kind of the purge tank and stuff, vacuum. So I just simplified it and just tied it up there. Right, so as you can see, I've actually 3D printed that little bracket up, perfectly safe, not going to have any issues there. Now moving on to the oil cooler. So I got the oil filter off, and you can see the difference between the non-oil cooler kind of bolt and the oil cooler one. That's the difference. This is what comes on a normal car. It doesn't have an oil cooler, like a low spec car, like the 1.6 is 75 horsepower, the 90 horsepower cars tend to not have oil coolers in the Mark IIs and stuff. The high power ones, you definitely need an oil cooler and an oil heater, because it does both jobs. Heats up the oil, cools down the oil, or it tries to maintain the oil. It's not the greatest at actually maintaining the oil at a temperature, but it does help, better than having nothing. And also, like I said, it's actually one of its other main jobs is actually bringing the oil to temperature quicker, because the water heats up quicker than the oil does, and that all actually transfers the heat from the water into the oil, which helps as well, kind of both sides. So the oil cooler is mounted now. Put the oil filter on, so that's all done. So from his box of bits, we had that pipe there. So I also replaced this metal pipe and painted it because it was kind of corroded. I've also connected the coolant hoses. And I've also connected the heater matrix ones for the heater inside, shortened this one, and then also put the one with the flap, shortened it, and did that on there. Also, this is like a Mark III style pipe that comes up here, and it fits perfectly to the expansion tank, which I actually now have, and it's filled up with water. Also, I've used a Mark III 1.6 GT top hose actually, because this 2E has like an overflow or return there, as well as obviously the Mark 1 Rad has it as well. So why not use both of them? So they both interconnect and go to with a small joiner there. So it self bleeds. So that's all self bled and done. Next now is going to be doing the headlight loom. Wiring is a rat's nest here. Now I've started on the lights, which was basically, that's what it looks like now. What I've used is I went actually through the bag, the Mark III loom. Now the Mark III loom is quite nice. It's got like the earth terminal, which goes to the battery and then goes straight to the fuse box, which is this one. Splits off. It's got like a little junction where it got loads of earths, which is actually there in that little bump there. So basically what I've done is I've used that, and then, so that's the indicator. That's the earth for the indicator. Main headlights, the earth as well comes from that bunch. The dip beam, the earth comes from that bunch. And this is for the spotlights, and the earth as well came off that. So that's kind of how it looks. A lot neater with that kind of all the earths there. And on the other side, this is what it looks like. You know, you've got kind of earths kind of connecting from here and then going on to there, and tape on here, and basically the earth gets screwed to the body, or it's got this kind of earth plug here. Look at the condition of that. Basically chopped that all off and simplified it. And as you can see, look, so this is like more wires that are coming off that Mark III loom. So I've got like another 4 earths here, which basically go straight to the battery, not to the body of the earth and corrode and get bad contacts. This way, you're gonna have a lot better and more reliable lights and indicators. So yeah, so now I'm just gonna literally simplify that, use all these earths for that side of the light loom. The horn is also in, screwed it to the radiator, actually the front bits there. And I've covered it in felt tape, so now I can actually run it through and run that in, tidy it up, because my main thing now, the next thing to do is actually to get the front grille on, the headlights on, and all that kind of stuff on, and make sure that all works. Plug the battery in after that, but yeah, let me just kind of attack this. Right, so things are going smoothly. So there's the plugs, and that's for the spotlights. The indicators are already plugged in, same on this side. Dip beam, lights. And these are going to be, I'm going to trim these down. I've left them longer, so once I know what ends they take on them, I can trim them down accordingly. The horn's also done and plugged in. So that's the light loom sorted with a nice Mark III style earth loom on it. Job done. Also removed what was here, which was this kind of power terminal and stuff. Just looks, you can join that lot over there. And actually out of his loom, it had this kind of style Mark III. I think it's a very early Mark III kind of loom, kind of connector. Sorry, should I say not loom. Power terminal cable, so that goes straight to the starter. And then you've got loads of, you can put like loads of extras on there, which is perfect. The earth ones he didn't have in this loom, it wasn't there. And the 2 that were in the boot, I don't know if these are actually earths, but they don't have a connector. I want one that kind of goes to the body, because if I show you what was on the car, where is it? I've chucked it over here already. This is what was on the car, and yeah, and it didn't even go straight to the engine. It went kind of, there was a hole made there for it, and then another hole made there for it in the chassis leg. But whereas really you want to go to least here, or those bolts that have the little, another bolt coming off the back of it. This one doesn't have it, but we can also use that there. So luckily I went through my box of wiring, or one of my mini boxes of wiring, should I say, and what was right on the top was what I wanted. It goes to the body, goes to the engine, and is actually in the same style as that one. It's an early Mark III one. So that's the earth side done, or it will be done. But also I want to change the main power lead that goes to the fuse box that is seen better days 100%. Let me just cut that off and solder on a new connector to that, and then we're ready to go. Almost put the battery in and see if this starts with it like this. I'm a bit worried, but make sure there's nothing touching. I don't want the car to burn out a wire or burn out the ECU, but let me just double check it runs as it is. So I've just put a riv nut in there so that I can then use it as an earth terminal that goes to the body there. Wireless is more than long enough. I might have to actually route it another way so it looks a bit tidier. It's actually really long to run it down to that earth there. But before that, actually, gotta wire brush these terminals so that they're nice and clean. There's no corrosion on them. So that's the new earth terminal done and the new positive terminal done. Doesn't that look so much better than what was there before? So that means I can actually get the battery into place now. And hopefully they'll reach. There we go, it does, perfect. And that goes onto there. I'm not going to put it on there, I'm a bit worried. But let's just make sure you actually get the bracket for it as well to hold it, clamp it down. Is the fan loom. It was cut, the wires down there is cut. So yep, I don't know what happened there. So what I've done is put an earth terminal on there so it goes straight to the battery. And it's also the Mark 1 has come some old kind of switch, even though the housing is the same. So luckily in this wiring, it had the Mark 2 type plug. So what I've done is ordered a switch, fit it on there now. So I'm just going to make up a loom that kind of goes battery, power from the fuse box inside to the fan, and make up a nice little fresh looking fan loom. As you can see, the wheels are missing and it's up on axle stands or a set of RAs as axle stands. But yeah, forget about that. As you can see, the car's actually running 280s, which is pretty cool, and a rear disc conversion as well. The reason why the wheels are not on here is because there was tires that are flat. I don't like customers bringing cars that are not movable, pushable basically. So he's actually getting the wheels refurbed and getting 4 new tires fitted on. Also the brake lines, you can see in this picture here, they were like that and now they look like this. So I sorted out that brake line, cutting it, shortened it for him, both sides. Put some brake fluid in there now, some .4, and we're just gonna quickly bleed that up. And that's what the front looks like now, with the spots wired in, the horn, and the front grille. It's looking like a car again. And we've come to almost the end of the video. This is the wiring. Now I've made sure there's no wires that are touching where they shouldn't be. I'm gonna put actually a bit of tape on these as well, just to be double sure. I'm gonna put the terminal on, flick the ignition, make sure there's no burning smells or fuses popping, and then crank it, and let's see if it runs. So I guess the first thing is actually to put the positive terminal on the battery. Okay, fingers crossed. Okay, I've not heard any sounds, any bad sounds actually. I haven't even checked if there's oil in this. Yep. We have oil. And there's also water in the circuit, even though there's no water pump pulley yet, but at least there's coolant in the circuit. As you can see, I've just dropped the fuse box down to make sure there was no issues here, and there isn't. Okay, so let's turn the key. Oh, well, that's a bad sign. Got no lights on the dashboard at all, no pump priming, nothing. Let me see if the battery's actually got charged. The new battery should be. Yeah, I've checked it, it's at 12.6. So I don't understand why I'm not getting any ignition. Should I even try and fire it? Let's see for the start motor. There's nothing clicking. Oh, here we go. It did something. Okay, but I've got no ignition lights here. I heard the pump prime as well. Let's see if it starts. No, it doesn't fire, guys. Okay, well, it didn't catch fire, but it didn't start either. All right, guys, so join me in the next video where I'm going to be finding out why this wouldn't start, why it doesn't crank. It's ended on a bad note. I was hoping it would actually fire up and run, but it looks like it's let us down. All right, guys, like I said, join me next week where I'll be tackling and fault finding why this isn't running.